Oh, hey, hey.
Good morning, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm doing good. Get up early, go, how do I say it? Like, do it, because I had to get a TB test. Do you know what a TB test is?
Oh, tuberculosis test. Yes.
Yeah. So I got it on Monday. They, injected me. But, of course, today was the day that I actually thought about it. I was like, wait, what you injected me with? What the fuck was that? Was it even vegan at all? Because no, they told me, because I was like, hey, is my arm gonna hurt? And they're like, no, it's not gonna hurt. And I'm like, okay. And then literally that whole entire day, my hand, my whole arm fucking hurt. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, and it was affecting both of my hands. It was going all the way. And I was like, my hands were just not wanting to work. And I was just like, what in the hell? So then, yeah, so today I asked them, I was like, actually, yeah, what is that made out of? And they were like, obviously the front desk, they were like, I know it's a protein. I was like, is it an animal protein? And they were like, it could be. And I'm like, okay, then no wonder I had this fucking horrible reaction to it, because I haven't eaten it in so fucking long. And now you just fucking injected me. I'm like, my mind, my moral dilemma. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and at the same time, my mind is the response. It could be animal protein. What do you mean? What other protein could it possibly be?
And there are a lot of other proteins. I mean, most proteins come from plants.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, in the day we live in, we all think it needs to come from animals.
Oh, I know, but that's because most people have been brainwashed to believe that the only way to get protein is through meat, and especially chicken, because chicken has the most protein. But
yep,
plants.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I think it's funny whenever I tell people that, and then they become nutritional experts. But the only thing they ask me is, but where do you get your protein? And I'm like, you are aware that protein is we're actually we over give ourselves protein. We're over efficient in it. And I'm like, the only thing that vegans typically lack is our B12 vitamin, because literally the only place you get it from is the dirt. So for me, I've had to find replacements, but I have them. So I don't have to. But it's funny because everyone just that's always their question to me. But where do you get your protein from? I'm like, I don't know where you get yours from. Please, nutritionist, tell me. Tell me now that you know all about food. I'm like, I know how to feed myself. I know what is in everything to get my levels. And because my doctor, when I went in, because she knows I'm vegan, she's like, okay, I'm just going to make sure everything, all your vitamins and everything are okay, just in case. So I do get it. A lot of vegans still don't know how to feed themselves. But yeah, everything was fine. Even my B12, everything. So I was like, the only thing that lacked was my vitamin D. I was like, But that's okay.
Drops for that.
Dude, well, so mine are really low. So they tried giving me really big capsules, but when I went to the pharmacy, I was like, are those vegan? And she was like, no. I'm like, all right. But thankfully my doctor's I really like her. She listens to me. So she was like, hey, if you go to the pharmacy and they're not vegan, just go to a normal place and get the highest dosage and just take it every single day, and we'll recheck you again in a few months. So
that makes me wonder.
Sorry, I realized I was on mute. My bad. I was all like, hi, and I was just like, oh well, I'll let them talk. It's fine.
We weren't ignoring you, we just didn't hear you.
I was like, hi. It makes me wonder, what is in vitamin D that is not vegan?
It's mostly usually the capsules are not vegan.
What about the drops themselves?
Yeah, I don't know. They could put gelatin in it for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that like that is honestly why I don't take pills, is because I mean other reasons as well, but most of them aren't vegan, unfortunately. But the same, like a lot of the products we use, like our hair, shampoo, like all that stuff usually have some type of animal ingredient inside of it. Like, I don't know. I don't, because that's the world we live in. The nurse today told me, she was like, oh, you couldn't get the flu shot then. And I'm like, I mean, I don't, but like, why?
Oh,
She's like,
wow.
oh, because we put egg protein in there. I'm like, oh,
Weird.
well, good to know. Yeah. Or they put some type of egg, they put eggs in it for some reason. I'm like, that's weird as hell, but okay.
I mean, there's probably a reason as to why, but I'm not quite sure if I want to find out.
Yeah. You know, fun fact about vitamin D that I found out is like in a case study that they did, a lot of people that contracted COVID had a deficiency in vitamin D.
Yeah. I mean, I get that because
Right.
especially as Americans, we have the poorest diet ever. And even like when people tell me they're like, oh, but like young people are getting it and people that are like athlete, you know, like people that are supposed to be healthy. And I'm like, okay, their outsides might look like they're healthy, but their insides like are probably not so healthy. Especially a lot of these trainers eat a lot of high meat diets, and that's not good for our body. Like that's actually killing their insides. So that's why we're getting sick. And that is unfortunately the thought. Like, and even, you know, our doctors, they have not been taught what food can actually do for us. Like me, now that I've been vegan, I've gotten rid of all of my allergies. I have no more asthma anymore. Like I used to get sick. Like this, I would probably have contracted it already because like when swine flu was out, I got that. When whooping cough, like I just had a really bad immune system. But now that I've transitioned, like I'm honestly the healthiest I've ever been. Like I rarely get sick. When I do get sick, it's like, okay, 1-2 days. And like I know my body is sick, you know, but like I don't feel sick. It's like, okay, yeah, my throat hurts or whatever, but like I still have so much energy. Like I still am like fine.
Yeah. See, and this is where a lot of people I've noticed that they hear the word vegan and right away they automatically jump to a conclusion of those are the crazy people. They don't know what they're doing to their body, that they're ruining their body, how much damage it's going to do. All the vegan people end up eventually getting sick. They shorten their life. And this is like what I hear. And I don't argue with people's egos because there's no point to it, right? Because that's where it comes like right away. You know what level 2 is now, right? So level 2 right away, no, they don't know anything. They're stupid. They're crazy. And thinking about it, I'm an intuitive person, and intuitively, I know that we're not supposed to be consuming so much meat. Yes, meat is part of our diet or could be part of our diet, but it does not need to be because we get all we need from plants. And thinking about it another way, okay? Everything grows because of the sun, right? It's the sun. That's where the protein comes from. That's vitamins. Everything comes from the sun. When you kill an animal, the meat right away starts going through the decomposition process. It starts dying right away. Whereas with the plant, it's not. It still continues to ripen. So what we're doing is we are eating something alive that has the most potential of energy. That's what we need, and all the vitamins, nutrients from something that is alive, even in our fridge, right? Whereas with the animal, it might as well be called a vaccine because the vaccine is essentially all the dead things that are inside the vaccine that are put inside our body, and we're eating the meat that's already dead, that is full of, well, I mean, I don't know how it is in the States, but here in Canada, apparently there's no antibiotics in some animals. But again, even then, I don't believe that because through the water, they still get that, right? And even if the vet comes and says no antibiotics, they'll still do it behind close doors and say that it's not. So we're still consuming the growth hormones, antibiotics, and anything else that the animal has had. And on top of it, being actually dead.
Now, I want to challenge your thinking. So, Brian, he's been hunting. So I feel like when you get meat that's like hunted fresh from the ground, that it's totally different. But like packaged stuff from the store, I agree completely. So when you're talking about that, I was like, I don't agree. Like I like my venison and my salmon that I have in the freezer because it's from Michigan. Like it just, but it's just different.
Find that on that I can challenge you a little bit as well. Yes, it is different, but because whatever the water supply they're drinking contains a lot of crap in it. But keep in mind that we are also drinking water that contains a lot of crap in it, and quite literally it contains crap, feces in it.
Right. And that, yeah. And that's like, it's drinking the same water I'm drinking. So I don't know, when I eat the venison that Brian's caught, or, like hunted, and the fish that Brian's like caught, I've noticed like a big difference in energy, like how you're Meagan, about how you're talking about like vegan. And I tend to only eat protein in one of my meals like that. And I have plant proteins for the rest of it. And, like stuff like that. But I don't know, like it's just, I guess I feel a little differently about it. I feel like when you get like that, because it's like, as they call deer, forest cows.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Bethany, because like even for me, how do I say this? When people do go do that, like if you're able to go and kill your own animal, skin it, eat it, kudos to you. Like I actually appreciate that more, because that too, like you're using typically everything and you're not being wasteful. However, we as humans still were not meant to eat meat, because even that, like if we were a lion, a tiger, we would go and kill that animal with what God has given us, or the universe, whatever, and be able to eat that how it is, like how animals do. But what do? We take the parts that we like, then we cook it with our spices and our stuff and add it with stuff, and unfortunately, just like Yana, you said, it is decaying. And imagine our system was made to eat plants and animals, and it was not made to be like a lion's, who has really small intestines, because that animal is decaying, so it needs to get through it quickly. But in our body, it's sitting in our intestines and decaying and rotting. Like, what do you think that's doing to our actual body inside? Like, it's just crazy. And especially that we eat it for every single meal of every single day, because even that, like a lot of people, they're always, oh, what about hunter-gatherers? And I'm like, okay, but there was a lot of them were more on a plant-based diet. But when it came to, let's say, winters, then they would have to eat meat, but they weren't eating it for every single meal. It was kind of only when it was necessary, when they had no other resources, then they had to eat it. But they're like they're very physically active, so they're kind of getting it through their system a lot. But with us, we've just taken it to this whole other level.
I also feel like too, like when you have a healthier gut as well, you can process those meats and proteins better. Because for me, I take a probiotic and I have my greens. So I don't know, you are challenging my ego a little bit, I will be honest, because I'm like, what the hell? No. But at the same time, I do agree with what you're saying, because I do eat. So I start my day with my greens, and then my protein shake, and then I go into like vegetables, and then my last meal is a protein with vegetables. So like I see what you're saying, but I don't know, at the same time with like doing yoga, because it helps naturally detox you, and then having probiotics and having a healthy gut, I feel like it doesn't do the same as like someone without taking those. So if you're like, so someone that's not healthy, I definitely agree.
Have you ever watched, you should watch this if you have Netflix. I think it actually is on YouTube as well. It's called What the Health.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
You should
It's
watch
good.
that again. I watch it a lot. I really like it. I've watched a lot of have you
Yeah.
watched Cow Conspiracy? There's
Oh,
Cow
yeah.
Conspiracy. There's a new one. It's called Dominion. That one, oh, that one's hard to watch because they actually more go into they go into each section. So like food, pharmaceuticals, you know, all the different ways we use animals, and they take you through it. Like they show you, because like they have activists that have gone in and put hidden cameras in these places to show you, you know, what is happening in these and it's horrifying. But I watch them because in my head I'm like, I love planet Earth and I love animals. I love every living thing on here. And because that was the reason I personally went vegan. Everything else was just kind of like an added bonus. But for me, it was just like, I don't want to be a murderer on this. It's conflicting with who my higher self is. And I feel like my ego was constantly like, nah, you can do this. But when I got down to the core of it, it was like, no, actually, I am a murderer. I'm asking someone to murder something on my behalf just because I like the way it tastes, just because I want to have it in my diet, which I don't necessarily want it, you know. And I just started looking at it very differently because I'm paying someone, you know, to do this. And it was really conflicting with myself. So I finally had to sit and be like, no, I don't want to harm them on any level, no matter what, you know, it is, because I will say I'm really, you know, how do I say, a very peaceful person. And that's how I want to live my life is, you know, doing as little harm on this planet as I possibly can. Am I still working on it every day? Yes. There are a lot of things like me using plastic and all this crap that we get into it and it's hard to get ourselves out. But I think for me, morally, it was just, okay, but I can choose what I put on my plate. I can choose what I put into my body. And do I want it to be a graveyard, or do I want it to be, you know, like a flowering, you know, thing? And for me, it was just like, I don't want it to be a freaking graveyard for anything. So I'm just not going to go there.
Now, with your thought, I think I love how we all have our different opinions, because you're like, you feel like a murderer. But for me, I'm like, wow, Mother Nature blessed me with this meat or blessed me with this fruit and vegetables. So I don't feel like a murderer, because when Brian, he hunted that deer, it was a really hard time. Like I made myself watch him skin it because I had that feeling about with hunting, and it got me over it, because I was like, wow, this magnificent
So can I ask though, what would you call it? What would you call it then? So like when Brian kills that animal, what would you call that?
It's a gift. He's providing, he's gifting, like Mother Nature gifted us this animal. It's her baby that she gave us. And so I like to give back to Mother Nature because she gave to me. That's kind of how I feel about it. But it's just so interesting how we have different thoughts. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
For me now, I see it as killing the planet in a way. Hunting, to me, that is more that we've been hunters and gatherers for as far as I know, right? But when it comes to killing the planet, buying and paying for the animal to be murdered, the show that I watched with David Attenborough, I can't remember what it's called, but he was doing a documentary about planet Earth and just his life on Earth and how he watched everything change and the wilderness go from a certain percentage to almost non-existent, and showing the video images of so much land being taken up by tamed animals. That is what needs to be reclaimed, and that there's too much tame animals in the world, that there's not enough the wild. And also keeping in mind that these tamed animals, they are not living the life they're supposed to, and that's where there's a huge difference between hunting and going to a store and buying the meat, because these animals did not live the life that they were born to live. I mean, some would argue with me as well, because, well, they were born in that life, they were born to live that kind of life. But as an animal, just because a human or a child was born in prison does not mean that child belongs in prison.
Yeah.
right? And the child does not stay in there. So why is it that the animals that are born in prison, they're staying in there? So that's one thing. Then they're also not eating the diet that they're supposed to be eating. In the end, they're also fed with corn just to fatten them up, just so people can make profit. And we are also consuming that, and we all know it goes in the same way as it comes out. So that's my different perspective on meat. I am with you, Meagan, and I am also with you, Bethany. I agree on, I don't want death on my plate and I don't want the graveyard on my plate, but at the same time, if I'm gonna have that, I would rather have something that lived and fulfilled its purpose in the wild, the way they're supposed to, meant to. And the taste is different. I've had a duck from a store and I had a duck from my husband's hunting. Huge difference. Right? Huge difference in taste and how you cook it and everything. So I do eat meat, and at the same time, there's this moral compass inside. It's like, well, it is murder, and yet it's not, because it's part of our life and it's not. So this is where I have this whole conflict that I'm still working through, and I've been working through it for a couple of years, because it's one of those things that's so deeply ingrained in us when it comes to eating meat, that it can be quite challenging to get to that decision. And I know that eventually I will get to the decision, whatever the decision is. At this point, I do eat meat.
Yeah.
Do I eat it every meal? No, I don't. Will I be eating it every meal? No.
Can I challenge you guys? Because I know you guys keep beating up the word murder. And to me, that's so limiting, honestly, because I'm like, murder, like, oh, it's so cannibalic. Could you change it to more an anabolic to make it feel better? I know if it goes against your values, that's one thing. But like, I agree, like when it's free ranged, I love that versus, you know, being on those farms that are just, it's heartbreaking to have animals there. But when they're from the forests and stuff, you know, it's like a different
I guess
feeling.
For me, like where I'm coming from with that is because, I mean, the explanation of murder is to kill something, you know, and unfortunately that is what does happen. These animals aren't asking to be killed, you know, so taking a life, unfortunately, like that is what it is. And unfortunately, you know, I do get that. A lot of people don't want to hear that. And it took me a long time to even like comprehend that, you know.
Yeah, because it's
sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I guess it just was kind of like
sorry.
No, you're fine.
You want me to just use a different, I don't.
No, I guess because like, okay, so like murdering to me is like someone in malice, like person to person.
Okay, got it. Okay.
You. I'm gonna murder you. But when you're going out, you're hunting, you're in a peaceful environment. This animal has lived a peaceful life. It's in its environment. It's, you know, it's just, it's time that like Mother Nature gave it to us. Cause like I feel like when you're hunting and you kill like a baby animal, I don't agree with that, because that has not, you know, they haven't lived their purpose. But when you get an adults, they've lived their purpose. And there's so many deer, especially here in Michigan, and it could be different like if I was in California. But yeah, it's just like I was saying, I feel like Mother Nature gives it to us, and like she's not being like, oh, well, you're murdering my babies. Like, I'm giving you my babies so you can have nutrition, so you can have fuel, so you can eat. I guess, you know, that's kind of where I was meaning, like moving it to anabolic. Like, yes, it's still murder, but is there a way to kind of make for yourself feel like, when you say it, to feel a little better, so it's not so cannibalic on the mind? It's still murders. It's just like, oh, you know.
And I guess, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I guess for me, like, I guess that's what makes me keep going. Like, that's my
cool.
My thing that drives me. And that was kind of, I don't know, I guess the word that really resonated with me and made me, my higher self, like, feel like, oh, okay, actually, because I wasn't looking at it like that, you know. I kind of was always thinking kind of the way you were, Bethany, like, oh, this is for me. And it's like, but actually, like in my head, it was conflicting. And it was just like after a long research and just witnessing all of that, because I watch those horrific videos because I need to see them. I need for that to be, because a lot of Americans don't see what happens, and a lot of them actually can't watch it. They're like, oh, this is fucking disgusting, I don't want to eat it. So it's not at our forefront. So for me, it was just that was something that deeply resonated with me, and it was like, okay, aha, this was my aha moment. And I guess for me, I just perceive that word a little differently, and that's okay that we look at them a little different.
Yeah, and thank you for letting me pick your brain a little bit. I was really curious because I know like murder, and I was just like, oh, that's so cannibalic. I mean, there's the lobbying coming out.
I see what your point, Meagan. It's like that word murder helps you to stay on track and helps you to stay away from eating the animals based on your deep understanding of what happens behind the stone walls, because I'm sure we've all heard the saying that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, we'd be eating meat. Now, here's the other, as I'm listening to both of you talk, the only other word that I would use would be kill. There's nothing else that I could possibly use, and that is, to me, the anabolic word. And here's the reason why. Because there are countries in this world where the animals, the wildlife, walks into the house, and the human's domain and the human's environment takes a human or a child, and some people would call that murder, that the animal came in and murdered this human being, took it out to eat it, but it's for their survival. Right? So that's where my thoughts were going, that if it was reversed, what are they going to call it? Right? Chances are, when they're there in that house, they're not really going to refer to it as killing. They're going to refer to it as murder. You came in and you murdered my family member, and it hurts me deeply. And that's why they use that word murder, because then, yes, it is catabolic and it is really strong and very powerful because there's a lot to it. But that's what those people would use against that animal. And guess what they would do? They would go and seek revenge on that animal, most of these people. Now, that would also be called murder as well, because now that's premeditated murder. That's even stronger than murder itself. So that's where my mind is with listening to everything. And I agree and I disagree, and I'm Switzerland.
Well, when you say the word kill, that's the word I was looking for. I was waiting for someone to say that, because that's how I refer to it, kill or survival in a way, instead of. Now, I mean, when it's like premeditated, like you are saying, like, yeah, that's murder. I mean,
that's like
symbol. That's murder right there. But yeah, I don't know. I like to. Anyways, yeah, I'm glad you said the word kill, because that's what I was like kind of thinking. That's what I was like gearing towards, I guess.
Yeah.
Just wanted to hear your opinions on it. Thank you.
No, honestly, I believe that it might be uncomfortable for a moment for any one of us to have that ego be poked, but this is what these calls are about as well. Like, talking about the stuff that nobody really wants to talk about because it's so uncomfortable. And yet we're able to talk about it peacefully without planning on how we're going to get you back for it.
Right. No, that is, I will say, because obviously I think I've been doing this for like 8 years now. So obviously I've had a lot of conversations about being vegan, and I can tell when someone is open or closed. And when you're closed, I won't even speak, because you're not in that headspace. You just want to argue with me. And for me, I will never convince you to do anything other than what you are doing. Like, your life, all I can do is educate you and make you, see things that I didn't see, at one point in life. But when people start arguing with me about random stuff, and it's like, Okay, I'm done. You can have your points, especially when they start bringing God into it. I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. So it is. It's really nice when I am able to have people where I can say what I want and not them get offended by what I am saying, and speaking my truth and what I've learned in this lifetime. So thank you, Bethany. And even that, just having a discussion about it, because of course we all have different opinions and beliefs, and we're all going to get to experience this life differently. And unfortunately, in my lifetime, I'm here, and this is apparently what I need to experience, is not eating animals and not doing that. And for me, it was hard because I will never go back to eating meat. But the harder part is now finding, like this, pills or something that aligns with me, because I know that there are animal products in it. So that's sometimes where I go crazy in my head, because I'm sitting there trying to be, in my mind, ethical, but there are a lot of things against me that don't want me to succeed at this, and it gets hard.
Yeah. Now, when you mentioned the mind, right?
Mhm.
And in your mind, the thoughts of the power of the mind came to mind.
Mhm.
In terms of when we are looking at food in a certain way, and we think, oh, this is garbage, this is not good for us, this is not healthy, and when we eat it, it's going to do just that inside our body, right?
Agreed.
So, and this is where, if your moral compass, right, your mind tells you that this is not for me, I can't consume it because it will do harm, then it will do that, because you have a certain understanding of what the meat, let's call them meat products, because there are different products that made of meat of animals, then that's what it's going to do. They've even done studies where people were the same kind of a meal, the same thing. One group of people was told, this is so bad for you, this is garbage. And then the other one was told, this is going to fix you, it's going to be so awesome, it's the best thing out there. And guess what happened? The same thing, the same food, these ones thrived, these ones barely survived.
Interesting.
But this is the power of the mind. And that's another reason why they say don't watch TV when you're watching movies, especially scary movies, because what you're doing is you're actually eating that scary movie. It's going inside your body. That's all energy, and you're eating energy. Someone walked in and you're like,
no, the cat. So the cat was like going down my thing. I'm like, are you gonna make it? Like, I don't know. Sorry.
You're good.
I thought somebody walked in and you're like,
yeah, right.
Just the cat being crazy. We're babysitting right now, so.
Oh, that's normal.
But he's so cute. He's adorable. Anyway, sorry.
And we're here to, we're not here to convince anyone. We're not here to tell anyone what's right and what's wrong. We're not here to talk about what's good and what's bad. We're here to just talk openly, share our experiences, our minds, our knowledge, our thoughts, ourselves, without trying to convert into anything.
Okay. So it's funny, you said like the experience about food and stuff. So when I went traveling, I got really, really sick. I don't know why. I think it was because motion sickness, and I had never been on a flight, obviously, for that long. So when I arrived, I couldn't eat anything. And a part of me, I was like, I need to eat something. So in my head, chicken. I'm going to take some chicken and I'm going to eat it. I broke out in hives everywhere. I was dry heaving. And again, my mind, I was, thinking I need this to help my body. So I'm going to eat it. And then my body had this complete other reaction. But at that time, I hadn't eaten meat in about 4 years or 3 years. So it was crazy to see how my body reacted differently. So even now, like I was saying with the TB test, when they're like sitting there saying, oh, you're going to have no reaction. And in my head, okay, no, I'm not going to. And then I have a reaction, and now realizing, oh, okay, it's because it's an animal protein that you just put into my body. And I haven't eaten meat in the last, 8 years. So obviously my body went a little crazy.
It's going to be rough. I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm. Now, also different part, I guess, another expansion on the mind that you haven't eaten meat for 4 or 8 years, and you have a program that's running in the back of your mind already that meat is not working with you. Meat is not good, and whatever you have programming based on meat. Now, when you eat meat, whether you're consciously thinking about it, subconsciously, which is a much deeper ingrained program, that's what could also affect it, knowing that the body will know what's going in, right? And
it's very interesting, because I will say the first time that happened, I don't think I had the thoughts I had now about meat, because that was very at the beginning. And for me, I was just doing it for animals. I had no other ulterior motives, like the environment or that it's healthy for me. I just said, okay, I don't want to eat meat anymore. So it is funny, because I don't think I had those thoughts. Like, yes, now I have those thoughts, and I can say my mind would be like, it's going to work against you. But even for that, when I started weaning off of food, I started just seeing how my body reacted to food. So I gave up food for about a week. So let's say I did cheese, because cheese was my biggest aha moment. So I used to get massive migraines all the time. So when I started becoming vegetarian, vegan, I was like, I'm just going to see what food affects on my body. So I gave it up for about 10 days, and then I reintroduced it into my diet. With any type of cheese, instant migraine when I would eat it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe that I'm seeing how much food affects my body, because I'm not aware of it. So it was crazy to correlate different types of food with, because a lot of us think, if it doesn't agree with me, my tummy's just going to hurt. No. It can affect so much of our body. Yeah.
The whole system goes down. It affects the mind. I kid you not, it's the whole entire system. And with cheese, it is very processed. And keeping in another thing, there is the plastic that usually it is wrapped in.
Okay.
It has a specific chemical, pallets or something like that, phthalates. I can't pronounce the word. It's PHA phthalates. So anyways, what that chemical thingy is in the plastic, it gives the plastic that little sweet smell to it. And it actually, and those phthalates are found in each and every mac and cheese, in the powdered cheese. And once I learned that, all of that went to the garbage, because it affects the male reproductive system. So
really,
boys might have a much more difficult time conceiving and producing children. And I have a son, as most of you might already know. So he used to love mac and cheese. And once I learned that, I was like, oh my God, that's scary. And that's pretty much in every plastic. And what plastic still seeps stuff through in whatever it is that we're consuming. And with cheese, have you guys heard of leaky gut syndrome?
I've heard of it. I don't know exactly what it is.
That's something that that's something that I deal with a lot. Like if I eat
people do
things,
most people do. And
what is it?
So leaky gut syndrome is basically if you are often tired, fatigued, foggy mind, brain, you have stomach issues, you have diarrhea often, bad memory, there's quite a few more in there. You can Google it, and anybody's watching or listening, Google, look into it. Leaky gut syndrome. It's a real thing. Most people have it without knowing it. And also the skin and the hair, and cheese is one of the ingredients, one of the things that can cause it. There's like 7 things that can cause it: cheese, eggs, milk, basically dairy products. Thinking about it, most of it is meat products, animal products, right? Coffee as well, mind you, I still enjoy my coffee. Irritable bowel syndrome, that's part of the leaky gut syndrome. So there's quite a bit in there, and that affects the whole entire ecosystem, the whole entire universe that we are.
Mm-hmm. You know, I got all excited because I took a course recently. It's called Hacking Your Healthcare. And a big thing for anyone listening that has leaky gut syndrome, probiotics and having an enriched green vegetable fruit diet has helped me tremendously. And it's something that was a synchronicity, because I learned that I was doing that, and then I learned in the course, like, that helps. And ever since I did, man, it's just been a total difference. So it is like, I feel like meat and like those animal fats definitely add a little imbalance. But yeah, I don't know, that just came to mind, and I just wanted to share with everyone.
And one of the, that reminded me of a diet that I tried last year in the fall called the Carnivore Diet.
Oh.
Yeah, Bethany, you remember that one, right? And you remember how great I felt on this diet. So carnivore diet means that you eat only meat products and meat. And I did it for a month, and I felt so tired, so exhausted. My brain has never been foggier. I felt like the best way to describe it, the only, like, closer to the end, my thoughts were in my mind. I'm like, I'm clogging my system, I'm clogging my arteries. And there's something that older people go and get a test for. I forgot what it's called. And it's essentially their arteries being clogged by protein, right? And that's where I was starting to feel and getting myself into that. Whereas my husband was on the same diet, and he felt great. He felt awesome. And mind you, my skin cleared up. I looked better, and I don't want to say prettier, but like flushier, pinker, whatever you want to call it. But that's at the same time because I eliminated everything else out of my diet that wasn't healthy. And then I slowly started introducing things into my diet. So that's my experience of spending a whole month on a carnivore diet, which was not fun. Like, all I wanted to do was sleep. I couldn't, like, Bethany, I don't know if you recall our sessions, like, I couldn't even put sentences together properly because I was so, like, exhausted. My system was overworked. Now, poop was almost non-existent because the body was using it all. Mind you, I'm like, no, I'm feeling like clogged. So, and then I went into starting eating more vegetables, and I started to feel a lot better. And that, like, with vegetables, within a week, I was back to my normal self. Now, sugar is the biggest problem of the diet. Sugar is also on the leaky gut syndrome list.
And starches, processed foods, high inflammation levels. That's something else I was looking for when you guys were talking about it. When you have high inflammation and high toxin levels, you'll get the leaky gut syndrome as well.
Yeah, body aches as well. And I, as I was educating myself on this leaky gut syndrome, I was like, check. That's it, I'm dying.
I remember we had this conversation in a session, and you like opened my eyes to it, and I was just like, oh, what? Oh my God, I can't believe it. You know, like, it was just like,
oh my God, there's an answer to all of my problems, and it's in my gut, because everything goes through our gut. Everything that we eat and drink and essentially breathe goes through our system. And if we want to feel good, then put good fuel in our body.
Yeah, and you know where your gremlin lies?
What?
You know where your gremlin lies? A lot of the times in your stomach. So when you have your gut health, when you're not doing that, I'm sorry, Jan, I interrupted you. I didn't mean, I feel bad. I've been working on that, like trying to be more active listening and waiting my turn. Because sometimes like in the past conversations, I've kind of like did like self-reflection, and I noticed I did that to you guys. So I do want to apologize, because I do find that extremely rude. So again, I'm sorry, and I've never like apologized to you guys. So I just feel like it's necessary.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Because this also can be a tiny little mini lesson to anyone that's listening or watching, however platform, wherever they find us. This is how most people are communicating. They are not listening. They are waiting for their turn to speak. And because they get so excited, been there, done that. I mean, coach training was incredible for me to really learn the power of listening. And oh my God, I love it. But everyone is waiting for their turn to speak. So they're not fully listening. And it does, like thinking deeper on it, it does stem from childhood as well. Because as children, we weren't really allowed to speak too much because I don't have time for you. So I used to speak incredibly fast, where half of my words were mixed together, and my mom and my dad would say, slow down, speak slowly, right? And this is where I found myself, and a lot of people will probably recognize this pattern as well, is that they're listening to something and the mind is full of thoughts. And it's difficult to shut that off, but it's not impossible. It is possible, and it's actually freeing to be able to shut everything off and just intuitively follow through the conversation, whatever the person has said. And it doesn't necessarily mean from the end of what they said. It could be somewhere in the middle, but intuitively, I have learned to just speak whenever I feel it's my time to speak, when I also allow other people to continue to finish their train of thought, because once a train leaves, we can't necessarily catch it. It goes really fast. But that's where most people are at, not actually listening. Yeah.
I agree.
And it's something that I've been wanting to do, and I forgot to do it last week, but it's been on my mind, because I know like the first time I felt really bad, and I was having some guilt and shame from it. And I was like, well, I want to apologize, because you guys are amazing and you guys deserve to be heard. So I just, it just was something on my little to-do list. Yes, I did actually. Because it's just, anyways. And then one last thought with the gut, Meagan, the other day, not the other day, a couple weeks ago, you talked about, or maybe it was on your podcast. I think it was on your podcast. You were saying like gluten is like glue. And when you said that to me, or not necessarily, well, you said it to me because I was listening. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, when you said that, it just like clicked. It was like this crazy, like, whoa, what do you? And then I thought about it more, and I had to fix it. So I had to fix something, and I had super glue. It was a mess. It was a test on my anger and overreacting, which I had to take a bunch of deep breaths, but I got it all over my fingers, and I was just like, oh my God, like how annoying. And I was like, wait a minute. Gluten, oh my gosh, like this is what's happening inside my body. Like, and eventually it came off after washing and keeping my hands clean and that. So it just like kind of got the wheels turning, because that's one thing that I noticed is a sensitivity for me, is like those processed foods, grains definitely affects me, sugars. But I wanted to say thank you for that as well, because that was really a big aha moment that I wouldn't have had without you. So, yeah. And it also correlates with everything, I feel like, too.
No, and a lot of people had to make that aware to me, that gluten thing. So I'm glad that I could help you. Because even that, like you just said, it comes off. But now imagine people eat gluten, and gluten is in a lot of things we don't even realize. So let's say you're layering that glue on. So you're putting glue, but it's not having time to go off. And then you're putting another layer. Oh, and then I'm going to eat some more. And there's another layer. And there's another one. So like it's never going anywhere. It's just sitting in our body.
I'm just picturing like just the stomach and the guts, you know, like for imagery, and all I can see is everything covered in this white, gluey, dry, and like dripping from the top to the next slow level, and then slowly, eventually making its way into our feces. But we continue to replace it, so it continues to drip through the system. And I mean, that is guaranteed part of the leaky gut syndrome as well. And a lot of people, they say they have gluten intolerance or intolerant to gluten, and then they wonder why. Once they take the time to figure out as to why, they're able to understand why that is, because it affects the whole entire engine of the system. And the Ferrari does not sound like a Ferrari anymore.
Because it's getting stuck. It's like it can't, you know. And I just like having the glue on my fingers. Because like at one point my finger was stuck like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's happening in my body. Like, oh.
I'm glad you made that connection. That's awesome that those two things went together.
Right, I know. I was like synchronicity right there, and I have to tell Meagan about this. And I meant to mention it last week. But it just right now is a perfect time because we're talking about gut health. So, hey.
Yeah, sorry. I think I steered this conversation towards.
Fine. Oh, I love it. I love health, like talking about health and stuff.
I do too.
I love it.
Something we're not aware of. And it's hard because this is our temple and we need to treat it. But, you know, we don't think about the things we put into our body every single day. And those are stuff we need to, because you know, this is constantly regenerating itself. And when you're not giving it anything to regenerate with, well, then we're kind of feeding ourselves disease, you know, and that's what's going to happen in our body. We're going to have those blocks and those clogs and all these issues because the wheels aren't turning properly together. So it all comes down to being aware of even what we put into our mouth every single day.
Self-awareness. 100%. Yeah.
It's
hard.
Yeah. And choosing consciously at what we put in. Because I started talking about the Ferrari, that's what we are. All of us are a Ferrari. We're that expensive vehicle that takes a lot of, if we don't take care of the Ferrari, to get it fixed, it costs a lot of money. Okay, same thing with the human body. When you don't take care of the human body, it costs a lot to get it fixed. And even when you fix it, it will never run the same way again. So why wait for the problems to start appearing? Why not do something about it now? Like, if you have a Ferrari, you're going to take it for oil changes. You're going to make sure that the wheels are on. I mean, my husband is a mechanic, so he does talk about cars once in a while, even though I'm like, can you speak English to me? But you're going to maintain, and you're gonna bring your car for maintenance and for checking once or twice a year, depending on the car. And you're not gonna put the cheapest fuel in the Ferrari. You're gonna find and put the best fuel in the Ferrari because you know it's going to last you a lifetime. So if you want this Ferrari to last you a lifetime, you gotta be choosing the fuel that is the best fuel out there. Example, there is a big difference. We were talking about meat, that there's a big difference hunting meat or buying meat from a store. There's also a big difference with growing your own vegetables and fruits, or buying from the market, or buying it from a grocery store. This one is the cheapest fuel of them all. Yes, it's still going to help you, the Ferrari, to drive, but it's going to have half of the nutrients that the Ferrari needs of that best fuel, right? So if you want the best fuel, it might cost you a little bit more in the short term, but in the long term, it'll cost you a lot less because later on you won't have all the expenses of the maintenance and the fixing of the system coming to you at once.
I love that you said that, because even for me, my biggest expense is food. That is my biggest expense. And some people are just like, how do you even comprehend spending that much on food? Because guess what? I'm not going to the doctors. I'm not needing to, take all these supplements, to take these pills, to constantly go to the doctor, because I'm healthy. So I would rather spend, I'd probably spend maybe, let's say, $50 extra, per grocery trip, buying stuff. But for me, it's worth it. It's worth me not having some health problems later on where I'm going to have a bypass surgery, or, I'm going to have all these complications and need to have surgery or all of this stuff. So for me, it helps. And the thing you said about food, like growing our own food. So when I lived in Asia, I loved their fruits and vegetables, but you knew it all came from the farm. It was all local food, and that apples were how big they were supposed to be. And then when I come back here to America, I hate fruit here. I refuse to eat them. They taste disgusting to me. They taste like plastic and pesticides. They don't taste like fruit anymore. And I don't know how people here eat these, especially fruits. They just, so for me, I've had to buy frozen and just make myself smoothies to get my fruit intake, because normally I eat fruit all day long normally, but when I'm back here, I've now noticed that it declines. Like, I refuse to really eat fruit because it's so gross. So it's crazy to see the difference in how we have our produce here and how it looks perfect, and it's, and one thing, like one banana, one type of apple, or mostly the same type of apple, but over there it's just like, oh, a million different varieties and types. It's like, what?
Yeah, and there's a lot less farms around here now. Like in Canada, there's a lot less farms. They're being sold because houses are going on them. I live where the farm is literally like across the road. I can go on my porch, and over the houses in front of me, I can see the farm. But they have sold that farm, I think 8 years ago now, or 10 years ago, because I used to work at the bank, and I know the owners of the farm, and they sold it. And they're going to be building houses on there in the next couple of years. So there's a lot less farms, and there's a lot more import. And this is people that are living here that have not tasted real fruit. They don't know the difference. To them, this is awesome fruit. But if they go somewhere else, they're like, oh my God, what is this? You guys put sweetener and sugar inside of it? No, it's what real fruit is supposed to taste like. And everything is slowly becoming to a point where it's going to be imported. And when they pick it, they can't pick it when it's ripe. They can't do that, because by the time it gets here, it might have already started to rot, and nobody's going to want to buy that. So they pick it when it's still a little bit green, which means that they cut off the nutrition supply at a certain period when it's not. It's like premature baby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a horrible example, but at the same time, that's what really popped in my mind. You're not gonna take the baby out before it's ready.
Yeah.
You're gonna let the baby out when it's ready.
But I had issues. I didn't have an immune system growing up, so I have problems.
Right. Did you say you came out early?
Yeah, I came out early. I came out 2 months early.
Oh, look at you, eager to join the world.
Right.
You're
It
right.
was actually, it almost was sooner than that, because like my mom fell down the stairs and went into like labor. I think she was like 6 months pregnant or something. Yeah, so she had to like be in the hospital. They pumped her full of steroids, and I still came early. I want to say she had torn her what is it? The sac? Is it the sac?
Placenta?
Yeah, something that holds me in, something. So it was tearing.
Sac or something.
Yeah, something. So as I was growing, it was ripping more. So they had to take me out.
Well, I gotta say, I'm so thankful that you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm so thankful that, and I was gonna say Uriah, he was early too. He was only 3
Yeah.
weeks early, but he was early.
Yeah. Both of mine were early too. They were both early a month early.
Oh, wow.
Everyone's so eager. It's like, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Right? Give me here. And then we come and then we're like, I think I could have waited.
Yeah.
Like, man, no.
My son, he started walking at 9.5 months.
Wow.
By 10 months, he was already like running. By a year old, he was already climbing. I mean, he's 7 now and he's still doing all of those things. We're finishing the basement, and because he's very active, even when he plays video games, it's like really like constantly jumping and playing, or almost constantly. And because we're doing the basement, the ceiling cracked. Exactly.
Oh yeah, you told us that it cracked.
Yeah, so my husband fixed it now, so it should be okay. And
so no more jumping.
no, he's still jumping. Now it's just going to be jumping in the basement, which will be a lot more safer because that's concrete at the bottom, so can't really crack that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like walking by, riding the
Can you
boat.
imagine if, like, as he grows too, how much that he would have like gone through?
That's how the houses are made now. That, you know, those things that they show in the movie when you're sitting in the bathtub, and all of a sudden the bathtub goes to the floor, and you're like, oh.
You're in the living room. You're all, what's going on? Hey.
Yeah. Hey, neighbor. But yes, like that's how the houses are built now. Pretty much, they're like just wooden boards. So if you are running in the house, you can hear it shaking. Quite literally moves a little bit. And when there's a stampede of children, it's a stampede of elephants. So that's why whenever we have family or friends come over with kids, I mean, it hasn't been for a while, but no running in the house. Because we don't want the house to like tumble like a deck of cards.
I feel it. I have Uriah, and when he runs around, I'm like, what is that noise? And it's just him running around down here. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of Friends, where they would be walking, and then the guy from below would come up and knock on the door. It's like, hey, stop walking, you stop making all the noise. I'm trying to, you're scaring off my birds. You don't have any birds. I could have birds. That's kind of what it is, right? He's here jumping. My husband working in the basement with music playing loud. He's like, what the hell is that? Ethan, stop jumping. Okay. 5 minutes later, Ethan, stop jumping. Because you can hear even through like really loud music and this the speaker. It's Anchor. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyways.
Yep.
Yeah, I tend to walk loud. I tend to stomp. And that's something like being more graceful. I'm trying to be more graceful when I walk. But when I'm like trying to get somewhere in the house, I'll Brian's like, geez, like, slow down.
Tiptoe.
Yeah.
I find myself tiptoeing, especially early in the morning, because everybody's sleeping and I don't want to wake anyone up, and I don't mind the dog coming with me, but sometimes she jumps off the bed and it's loud. So I kind of find myself tiptoeing without even realizing that I'm doing that.
Oh.
I find a lot of black cats.
Does she have a white dot on her chest?
No, it's a bell, right?
Oh, it's a bell. I was just like, oh my gosh, it looks like my cat. I love black cats. They're so much
pure black or any white spots?
No, he is like a weird brown color. Like he has weird. It's not all black. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
Like in the sun, it kind of has like a brown. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That's so cool. That's awesome.
It's almost
like brown red.
Yeah, black.
He is the best cat. Like since we've he's been here for like 4 days. I've not gotten scratched by him, nor bitten by him. He's very gentle. Like even he'll like come up when he wants to play and he'll like put his paw on my mouth, like, please play with me. But he like won't use his claws at all. He'll just, and he like cuddles with me at night. All he wants is like loves, and you can pet him everywhere. I've pet him in every spot that I can, even his little toes. I'll like get in between there. He'll just let you. He'll be like, all right, cool, go for it. I'm like, you're a dog. You're not a cat. Yeah. You are a dog trapped in a cat's body.
A lot of cats are like that. I mean,
love cats like that.
They've always been very dog-like personalities, and that's why when people tell me that they're scared of cats, couple of my friends, they don't like cats. They're scared of them.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bad experience. They've been attacked by a cat. Like, well, you probably came across a feral cat. And I used to catch those. I used to catch feral cats back in Russia. Now, those can be vicious.
Oh, I bet.
I'm sure you guys all have seen videos where they catch feral cats and they're like literally bouncing off the cages inside the bag or whatever they use. That's how they are. And I caught them with my bare hands, and I had probably still have scars on my arms. I have a lot of scars on my arms, like little scars. My parents wanted a boy, so they had one. I mean,
I feel it.
I get used to it. That's fine with me. And that's one of my bragging rights, that I was a tomboy and I ran wild and I used to catch feral cats. I used to catch mice outside. I used to catch snakes. I used to catch turtles. Honestly, I kid you not, anything that moved.
You should have became like, what was that Australian guy's name?
Oh, Steve Irwin.
Yeah, you could have been that.
In Russia, I probably would have been that, but coming here to Canada, it's a completely different lifestyle, and it's more like concrete jungle as opposed to jungle where we had the forest. We had areas where there was like wildlife lived there, and of course Yana would be there. And whereas here, it's not easily accessible. And now that I'm an adult, I have deeper understanding of the consequences and what could potentially happen when I go in certain areas, and then I'm not getting in trouble. So I don't explore as much as I would like to.
Got it. But
I have children, so I can use them as an excuse. Ooh, let's go off the path here. Let's go and make our own trail. There's also coyotes in the area as well. So not something I want to be facing.
Yeah. I went sledding the other day, and so it was my first time ever sledding. I grew up in California. Where I lived, we didn't have snow. So moving to Michigan, I just love the snow. I love being surrounded by the water and everything. I love your face. I know. I love it. California to me, I just couldn't do it anymore. But moving here was like that big thing that really shifted me. Because, it's like opened my mind. I could be whoever I wanted here. There was no judgment. Like, I was just new. I had all these tattoos. Like, I was, oh, wow, who is this person from California? But I honestly, I love it here. There's open land. Just, it's beautiful. Anyway, so I was sledding. Sorry, I went on a tangent. But so I was sledding, and it was my first time, and it was Uriah's first time, and I went on that sled. I found the biggest hill, and I was all like I probably so silly, but I was having so much fun, and me and Uriah went on the sled together. Oh,
anyway. You know what you can try that's also I found to be very fun? You know how they have, it's almost like a skateboard type of thing. I don't know what it's called, but it has
a snowboard.
Yeah, it's like a board, and you have a handle just stands up straight, and the board is really thin plastic. So when you're going down the hill, you feel all the bumps, and we have that. You might have seen that on my stories last year with the kids. They would go down this thing. It almost looks like a scooter type of thing, or
that's cool.
Skateboard. And I went down on that, and I mean, it's fun. It's fun because you can't stand on it for too long because you got to use your whole entire body and balance on it. So I would have the biggest giggles when I'm on that. And that's what reminds me of childhood. It's so much fun, but at the same time, it's a great exercise because giggling is exercise. It uses your whole entire body. And then trying to stay on the board and not fall sideways or not go head first, that uses your whole entire body. So I've done it a couple of times, like in one day, and then I would be sore. So if you want a really good exercise that's really fun, and Uriah can learn, they learn a lot easier and faster than we can in terms of their balance. They are much better than we are with balancing and things like that. But it's so much fun. We got on.
Yeah. That's cool. That's kind of something that I did that with the sled, but we were sitting on the sled, but I was like trying to like go down. I was using my body, and I got to tell you, I was sore. Those hills, like he wanted me to run down a hill, run up a hill with him with the sled. I'm like, all right, we're getting a workout in. Come on. And then, but I'll have to check those out. That sounds fun. It sounds like a scooter on snow. See, I also like the snow because I am into Wim Hof technique and like the cold showers and stuff. So being in the cold, it just is a mindset release. Like it brings me to a balance, and I'll sometimes walk out in the cold without a jacket on here and just be for a little bit and then go inside, and the mental clarity you get from it, and like just the peace and like almost like being renewed, I feel like. And it's not for everyone, like cold. Yeah.
Hey,
cold
maybe
shower,
you've been giving that to me though, because it's funny. Even though it's been cold here, I've been trying to change my mindset on the cold. So I'll just go outside without a jacket and just be like, embrace it. Don't, like, you have body heat. I know we get cold very easily, but let's not think that way anymore. Like, let's enjoy the coldness. It's not too cold here. So like I've been trying to have this, like you said, just like this different mindset of going out into the cold.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
Bethany, I think your powers are magically working on me.
Oh, I'm happy I could help inspire. That's awesome. I just, the Wim Hof thing, like you can ask Yana. I really avoided it for the longest time because I was just like, the cold, no. And then when I did a course on it, it was just like, oh my gosh, like you were resisting it. That's why like it kept coming up for you, and I was just resisting it. And yeah, it's just powerful. It's crazy what cold can do, and it challenges your mind. It like helps with getting over obstacles and stuff.
Right. Even when I have a headache, I go out, even if it's like really cold out, and I'm like, look, it's like a ice pack for my brain right now. I don't need an ice pack. I'm just gonna go outside.
Yeah, I agree. And then after workouts too, What was that, Yana? I'm sorry.
Dive head first into the snow.
Right.
I mean, that's how Russians actually used to strengthen their immune system, and they still do. They would go in a hot tub or in a sauna, and they come out and jump right into the ice water or snow.
Wow.
It's like a shock to the system from one extreme to the other. Immune system. Then of course it helps to have vodka, which internally
warms you up.
I mean, why not?
Right. Hi, beautiful.
Hi, Mila.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm just really tired.
Yeah. I've been loving your videos. You've been doing awesome.
Because all Mel has been doing all day is folding clothes.
Yeah, she has.
Hi, Ethan.
She's hi. Oh, Mel has only been playing for the morning.
Yeah.
And the whole pretty much since 9 to 2:43.
Oh my goodness.
She's been folding clothes.
And once it took her 5 days just to finish the clothes.
Wow, that is a long time.
4 full baskets and 1 stubble.
So. Well, technically she started folding clothes at around 12 o'clock. And she's still folding it now. It's one of her chores that she does. And he folds his own clothes. Yeah. I just have to put it away.
Good job, guys.
Them.
Proud of you both.
Yeah.
It's a huge accomplishment.
It is.
My lip hurts.
Yeah, she had a dentist appointment, and this was the first time because they fixed a cavity, and she was not familiar with the numbness, so she ended up actually chewing on her lip until it was raw. And now it's like, now it's a little bit swollen on the side, which was yesterday. But now she knows not to chew on it when it's numb. Just let the drool come out.
No.
When you're trying to drink water and it's all.
Yeah. So my face and my neck feels wet. Why? Because the water is leaking out.
It happens.
Yeah, we're talking
I've been there. Yeah, I've been there.
Oh yeah. I've had my whole face.
Yeah. Removed.
They put like this plastic sheet in my mouth and drilled it. They drilled my tooth. It hurts so freaking bad.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, not that bad because I numbed my tooth and my lip. It's like my lip feels so hard. It feels like there's maybe like, let's say a soft rock almost.
Yeah. It becomes numb when it's almost the way I was explaining to her yesterday is that she's like, it feels so thick, right?
Yeah.
The lip. I'm like, well, now you're actually aware
Oh, yes.
thick your skin and your lip is, because before you're so used to it, it's normal. And now you become aware of it.
That's a good point. Oh man.
That is a really good point.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like once you become aware of something, it becomes really difficult to go back to the way that it used to be before.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I'm like looking at the time, like we are like
I know.
by 16 minutes.
Well,
I gotta go take my grandma to the doctor.
I gotta go grocery shopping today because tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and yeah, and then today when I come back, we gotta start cleaning the whole entire house.
Are you joking?
So I'm.
It's crazy.
I gotta wrap presents today. That's my task at hand. And I do gotta work a little bit, but
To our long to-do list today, ladies. We will get it done.
yeah, definitely.
I'm coming shopping.
And I'm gonna see Meagan on Saturday.
And I'll see you Monday.
On Monday, and I already have plans of what we're gonna be talking about and doing because I'm going
Let
to
me guess, unicorn.
my ear.
Yeah, unicorn.
I'm gonna be utilizing, I know, Portuguese mixed with Russian, double
and
loudness.
Polish.
Anyways, I'm gonna utilize both of your gifts because you ladies have incredible gifts. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Before we get off, I just wanted to talk to you guys. I really would like your opinion on it. I'm going to send you something. So I've been working on, I printed off one version of it. So it's overcoming obstacles. So I've been doing like this workbook thing. So I want to send it to you guys and get your feedback on what you guys think about it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a workbook.
I more did it for my family because they really need it. And I was like, because I asked all them, I was like, for Christmas, can we all sit down and, talk? Because all you guys need to get some stuff out, man.
That's beautiful.
All of you. So I was like, yeah. So I made a little workbook for them, but it would benefit other people as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Perfect. I will send you guys it over probably Facebook.
And that would be also a great way to lead into your offers afterwards. As you know, in the Doers Way, they teach, right?
Yeah.
Free little something.
Yeah.
And you already have it.
Yeah, I know. You helped push me there, Yana. So thank you. You were the one. You made me believe in myself that I could do it.
Oh, you can. I'm
I
surprised
know.
you didn't believe in yourself, but at the same time, I'm not surprised because that's where most of people don't believe in themselves until somebody either says something or does something that allows that belief to take over the programming.
Like Mila sees herself in me, I see myself in you. So you're helping me go.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, Yana, but I want to, since we're on here, I'll tell you too, Meagan. So I hit my 300 mark on my poems and quotes. I've written 305. Like,
Wow.
right?
Yeah. And
It's
it
a
hasn't
little,
even been a year.
no, it's been March 26th. It was at the beginning of the pandemic when I started like doing my own thing, and I love it. I just love it.
And that to me right there, when I said March, I used to think of myself as I have horrible memory, that I can't remember anything. And the moment I started believing in myself and believing in my memory, it improved like that.
Can I tell you
I
memory?
agree with you. Yeah, that's true. I've never really thought about that, but yeah.
So the moment Meagan started believing in her abilities to create something, she did it like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
The moment I started believing in myself and my abilities, I pretty much have the whole outline for all 7 modules and topics for
See?
each one. And
I'm
We believed in you.
Yeah.
1 hour today.
Hell yeah.
Huh? You did what?
I'll tell you after. But that's what I'm saying. Like once we start believing in ourselves, and this is for anyone that's listening, whatever it is that you don't believe you are capable of doing, you're more than capable of doing. All you need to do is believe. I live on quotes, or I live by quotes.
Right.
And if you believe you can, you can. And if you believe you can't, then you can't. You know, you're right that you can. I think that's not the actual quote, but this is how it came out right now. Because if you want to achieve something and you start to believe that you can, little by little, however big of a quantum jump you can do, whether it's like, I can and I believe in myself, or I could start to believe that I can. And then the word could allows that belief to slowly come into the system. And eventually, like one of my thoughts is, once I'm ready, I will be able to stop, right? Whether it's a bad behavior or a habit that I want to have, once I am ready, it will just happen naturally. It will happen on its own, that I don't need to force it. All I need to do is just remember that this is what I want, and it will happen on its own. Same thing with belief. Once we start to believe in ourselves just a little bit, eventually that will take over the system and it will happen naturally. Can't force it.
I agree with you. So you know how my binge eating, I did a journal reflection. I'll start it there real quick. I know we got to go. So I did a journal reflection the other day. It was the 21st, is winter solstice. I did it that day. I also did a social media detox for about 6-7 hours. But I came across something that I was obsessing over binge eating, and I was wanting to get rid of it, but I was obsessing over, like, I need to get over it. I need to get over it. And the minute I stopped obsessing over it, it just was natural. Like you said, it just fell away, and I don't even have that issue anymore. I can control myself. So I agree with you 100%. That's just my little story on it.
That obsession allowed you to program your system that this is what you want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And then once you let go of holding that belief that you can't really do it, you allowed that belief that you can to take over your system, because you've slowly been reprogramming yourself to that point.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome. So we're just gonna cut short right here.
Yeah, I know, because I feel like with us, we just keep going. I mean,
We will.
Yeah, we have
We
the
can
gift
do this
of
all day.
gab.
All right. Bye, loves.
All right. I love you guys.
Bye,
I will
guys.
talk
See
to
you
you
next
next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.